I was inspired by a post I saw on YouTube. It was a YouTube short, and the caption was simply, "Do you love me?" And it was a question being asked by a child to her parent. And it went right back into my childhood. And suddenly, that memory jolted me into the thought of doing this discussion today on Sheri Says. Now, as a child, I asked that question of my mother very frequently. It was a question that was very laden. It was a question seeking an answer. It was a question on which my entire emotional stability hinged. But it was a question that irritated the life out of my mother. I asked her so many times, and she refused to provide an answer. And I remember sometime as a teenager or a preteen, I went down on my knees, rested my head in her lap as I did so often, and I looked up in her eyes and said to her, "Do you love me?" And her response was very aggressive, very biting, very brutal. And in effect, she indicated that I shouldn't ask her such a stupid question. And as I saw that YouTube shorts and had this reflection, it dawned on me that the stability of my personality, my self-esteem, my growth, my development was impacted by the lack of an answer. And on a funny note, there was a story told by a husband who, his response to his wife asking her if he loved her was that he told her he loved her 25 years ago when they got married, and that he will tell her if anything changes. And it was comical, as it was intended to be. But it also brought back the fact that as a people, we were never taught, encouraged even, to share our affection. And to some it doesn't matter. But there are to others, like me, where it's a do or die situation. Now I'm drawing on all types of references as I continue with this thought, because having spent a little break time yesterday just looking at another YouTube video with Meet the Mitchells, a very famous Jamaican family on YouTube, the little boy Ozzy went up to his daddy Wayne Marshall for whatever reason, and daddy said, "Love you." And in his little baby voice, I think he's about 2, he said, "Love you too," or something, "Love you, dad," because that's how he grew up. And it is one of the common threads that really warms my heart as I follow the Meet the Mitchells characters on YouTube, is the fact that regularly they say to their family members, "Love you." And they had a conversation indicating that it was not like that for them as children growing up. It was not noised abroad. It was not said to them how greatly they mattered. Well, at least the "love you" bit in Wayne Marshall's particular presentation. It wasn't a thing. And they made a conscious effort to change that narrative in their family. And so as we are moving into the love season, the Valentine's Day, we think about saying "I love you." And there are two sides to my thoughts. One, sometimes it is said so lightly, so without substance, without value, and the recipient might hang on to it, ascribing to it more meaning than the person who said intended to share. But it is not to be entered into lightly. It's kind of like marriage. It's a commitment. And when I say "I love you," I am really giving to you a part of me. So having said "I love you," if my next response or my next attitude towards you is that of brashness or aggression or even physical violence, that too is communicating something very strong. Is this how love shows itself to be true? Is this what your love means? Is this how I should process the whole concept of love? Now back to my story. Eventually, I realized that my mother could not say that she loved me. It broke my heart. It tore it apart. It made me devastated, but it also left me questioning my worth. Now, there are those of us who will say, she not loving you should not impact you, but at that age, I could not see myself apart from her. I was from her. Everything I did hinged on her. I stretched myself for her approval. That was all that mattered. And it continued all the way into my young adult life, because getting my mother's approval was so much more important than anybody else's. Psychologically, there are those who will say, oh, it shouldn't matter, and people have many big statements that they like to make. But there is no way you can, in all honesty, tell somebody what should or shouldn't matter to them. What matters to them is really what matters to them. And if that is what they're hanging on to, that's their love language. That's what they need to hear. That's what will get them out of bed, or that is what will prevent them from going over the deep edge. It is just what it is. It took me way into my 30s, dare I say maybe my 40s, to discover that my mother didn't love me. It was a very tearful discovery. It basically changed the direction of my life, because along with that, I had to understand that my mother did not know love. She didn't understand the concept of love. She wasn't a loved person in her own mind. And so honestly, she could not give what she did not have. And so this is my thought for today. We cannot expect from people what they don't have. We need to be mindful of the fact that we might be asking persons to give us something that they really don't possess, and then we get angry when they withhold it. So moving forward today and every day, I have learned this lesson. I have learned, number one, to fall in love with myself. What that meant was I had to undo all the negative thoughts, all the negative connotations, all the negative words that were spoken about me. There were those who were critical of my size, of my height, of my hue. Oh, they were critical of my brilliance. They were critical of my ability to give, my ability to see the best in people. And so I had to dismantle all of that by falling in love with myself. It took a lot of self-talk. I had to talk to myself the way a psychologist would talk to a counselee. I had to ascribe grace to my own attributes. I had to acknowledge the fact that, yes, let's start at the beginning. I was fearfully and wonderfully made. I had to commend myself for existing even with my physical impediment. It need not be an issue. You know, there are those who, because the body doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and then who says it's supposed to? That's another conversation altogether. But because the body doesn't function the way all other bodies function, you become very self-critical. So for me, I had to congratulate myself when I was able to walk a mile or half or 10 steps. I had to learn to understand that the parts of me that don't work the way I'd like them to do not take away from the parts of me that are absolutely genial. And of course, genial sounds exactly like what it's supposed to sound like in Spanish. Um, well, that was Spanish. In English, it's genius. That's the word. Kind of fun, isn't it? But nevertheless, I had to celebrate the fact that I am an amazing person. I am beautiful inside and out. I have a heart of gold. I love people. I love making people happy. And as I started to celebrate me, as I started to accept me, because self acceptance is another very, very big thing, I found that I radiated that assurance, that self worth. And so I began attracting people who also appreciated that, because now I was standing tall, standing with all my attributes, and so my deficiencies were not so glaring. I no longer pointed them out because they did not define who I am, nor will they ever do so. As a matter of fact, it's probably a talking point. It will probably open a conversation, and I have learned how to direct the conversation along the path I want to take it. So, the conclusion of this whole matter, okay, so my mother could not love me. I can love me. I must love me. For as long as I live with me. And after I live, the memories of me will impact lives for change, for better, for good. And so, self love is what we are celebrating this Valentine's Day and the rest of the year. Because until we love ourselves, can we truly love anyone else? I'm glad I was able to have this say today. And I wish for all of us a day filled with love. No Valentine's? That's fine. Go buy yourself that gift that you've always wanted somebody to buy you. Take yourself out for chocolate and ice cream. Take yourself out for a wonderful experience, to laugh, to grow, to enjoy. Take yourself to brunch. You need not have a date. Spend some time with yourself, some quality time. Because the more lovable you become to yourself, the more lovable you will be to others. And that's all I have to say. Just give love a chance. Start by falling in love with yourself. Ciao for now.
One more Jamaican gone abroad. One more disciple leave the yard. But if you think so, we are gonna stand up and wait. No way while we hold the gate for you. Nothing so at all. But I'm an Anya, I'm an Banya, I not leave ya. Figure I Canada. No visa, what a boy, yeah. Belly full, yeah. Sweet Jamaica.